Okay. Over to you, I think, Gaynor. I have your balanced scorecard, as usual, which I've divided into 4 quadrants, one for each screen, so we can talk to that. But if you'd like to give us your pitch, and then we'll have a chance to ask you a few questions.
Hi, thanks Vicky. First of all I'd just like to thank you for the introduction and the way you spoke positively about Lister Steps. Obviously the film and the balanced scorecard which people are looking at the moment were done quite early on in the development of Lister Steps, and obviously the information which is given doesn't take into account the changes that the new government may bring in. Obviously the ending of the Children's Centre would be something that Lister Steps would be keen to look at what the alternative would be and whether we could play more of an active part in that. Part of the problems that Lister Steps have experienced has been the threat of competition that is being brought about by the children's centres, and what we've noticed as we struggle to sustain our business is that a lot of families now are prime fed into the children's centre before a child is born. They receive all their antenatal care in the children's centre, and then they're given a guided tour around the nursery, but we carry on in spite of that. In terms of our business model, looking at the quadrant that Vicky's put up, this was very much our initial thought as we were developing our business. In terms of who you need to speak to and what you need to do, communication with other agencies is vital. I would say that is one of the key aspects of our success. In terms of delivering childcare, every local authority is required to produce a sufficiency assessment of their area. The sufficiency assessment is to determine whether there is a shortage or a surplus of places in that particular ward. Local authorities will still fund and support organisations financially where there is seen to be a maintaining deficit. I'm sorry, I'm seeing the messages on the sign. Is that any clearer? I've just had real bad Skype headset problems, so I'm having to use the microphone on the laptop at the moment. I do hope people can hear me. Okay, I will try and talk very, very clearly without too much intonation in my voice. In terms of what we need to do, it's, as I say, talking to people is vital. In terms of our business model since the production of this balanced scorecard, we found that the primary markets very much for childcare are through the education grants that are offered to the local authority. There are also initiatives at the moment to support young people returning to education after the birth of their child. These contracts come through the Job Centre Plus and the Learning to Build Council Care to Learn project. Our primary business activities at the moment have concentrated on a full day care provision of 30 to 45 children aged 0 to 5 years. We have a breakfast club for 24 children, which opens from 7:30 in the mornings. We have a play group which at the moment is working with a lot of children who are considered to be in some social or emotional disadvantage. The parents are referred to us to the local health services. Our occupancy is currently sitting about 75 to 77%. Obviously our nursery occupancies are our key aspects of where we're going and how well our business is performing. Are people hearing me? If you could just put a clap or something, just so that I'm assured. It's like talking into the abyss here at the moment. Where we're going now, obviously, as you saw from the project, we are looking at a new development. The good news is that the cost of our building is being determined by an architect to be less than £2 million, and now sitting at £1.5 million. But as I said before, the film was made 18 months ago. Parkster Group is now in the most 1% deprived areas of the country, and the whole ward is considered to be in the top 10%. This means that more families are unemployed, and as such we're looking more to the social aspects of what we were doing and how our work with the very, very young children can have some kind of influence in their life potential. So if we could flip over to the next quadrant, please. Okay, financial return, always a big one, as I'm sure Hugh will back me up on this. Lister Steps have been known to walk a cash flow tightrope for many, many years. I think Hugh's comment at our last meeting, where he determined that we'd landed our annual accounts on a postage stamp, kind of accurately describe in more of a layman's term than the now, soon, later approach that's currently showing on your screen. We continue to strive for financial sustainability, and what we found is that our sustainability is seasonal. Over the years, as I described in the film, we've had more chance to look very much more at the technicalities of our business, and we've been able to identify where during the year, in terms of timescale, we struggle to meet our outgoings. We're currently addressing this by a huge marketing campaign which is due to start later this month, and we're also continuing talking to the local providers, to the local college. Our big plan is, as you know, is to relocate onto the former West Derby School site in Tubrook, which I'm sure you'll be more than familiar with, Chris, coming from the area. We believe that by moving on to the site, we're putting ourselves in a prime location, right opposite a school, a local community college, and also in line with another large charity, Merseyside Society for Deaf People, who we're aiming to work in partnership with. To achieve this, we must balance our finances. Lister Steps have been very, very fortunate over recent months to secure the services of a treasurer. As Hugh will know, we've trailed long and hard looking for a treasurer. At the right time, we've just secured the services of a guy called Les Sudes, who is a former financial director from the private sector, who is working with us and really helping us out with our financial return. Organisational development, I've just noticed the screen has flipped over, so I don't know if I'm saying too much at the moment. Our organisation is a company limited by guarantee with charitable status. As I mentioned, we employ 35 staff. We currently have 15 volunteers and 9 board members, and we're aiming to increase that by 1 to include a representative from Merseyside Society for Deaf People, who we are hoping to start to work in partnership with very, very soon. In terms of the actual organisational survival, as I mentioned in the video presentation, what is key for us is our physical sustainability, as obviously as well as the financial sustainability. Portakabins don't have a very, very long life, and for those who've had the misfortune to work in them, they are incredibly hot in the summer and incredibly cold in the winter, which isn't an ideal environment for working with small children. We know that we've probably got another 4 years life left in our Portakabins, therefore it is essential for the life of the organisation that we relocate really, really soon. To enable this, we've received a business development grant from Social Investment Business, which has enabled us to look and secure the services of an architect who is working with all our stakeholders at the moment, developing a plan which is both going to be acceptable to our staff and our service users, but also to Liverpool City Council, who as landowner we've got to convince that giving us that site is the right thing to do. To get there, we've basically gone back to the old communication, letting everybody know what we were doing, speaking to our local councillors, getting local political support. As Hugh mentioned earlier, Liverpool's gone over to a Labour authority at the moment, and we've yet to see the impact of what that will be. My last discussions with the local authority suggested that the whole transfer was on hold until after the election, and a small period of time had been given to reshuffle the deck chairs. So hopefully they're all carefully seated now, and we should hear from them very, very soon. If we could move on to our social return, please. Thank you. Social return is huge for Lister Steps. We hit a return on so many different markers. As part of our investment from a venture capital fund, we secured an inquiry through the New Economics Foundation to look at our social return on investment. And what came out of that study was that for every pound that is invested in Lister Steps is able to generate a return of £49 in terms of social capital and savings of what the doing nothing alternative is. We hit the markers by working with very, very young children. For those of you who have had experience working with children, the whole childcare strategy now is around the early years foundation stage, and that there should be no distinction between a child who receives early education in a private or voluntary nursery and their local school. What this means is that the childcare image is changing. The profession is becoming far more professionalised, and there are new requirements for graduate leaders to be in every setting. Lister Steps really take this on board, and to date we've had 104 staff training days since January to make sure that we are top of the notch at what we're doing. We also have the parents out. They're able to go to work. Our younger parents are able to go into training. We have a number of contracts with the new Learn to Earn and Future Jobs programme, so that we're working with all sections of our community to give them the skills to go on to get unemployment or to look at alternatives for setting up their own businesses. So in conclusion, as I finish the balanced scorecard part of the presentation, it's very much, I think, about identifying who it is what the need is, who experiences that need, and what it is that you can actually do to address it, and be very, very true to your mission. We've had a number of opportunities over the 11 years that we've been operating to look and diversify our business, and we felt that wasn't the thing to do. We're experts in childcare, and the social return that we give is very much to children and to families generally. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gaynor. We've got time for a few moments for questions now, so as with last week, please put your hands up if you've got questions that you want to ask. We'll have sort of 5 or 10 minutes of that, then we're going to move into breakout rooms for 10 or 15 minutes or so we can explore these issues in a bit more detail, and then we'll come back to the main room and feedback. So hands up now if you have questions for Gaynor. And Giles, over to you first.
Hello, Gaynor. Yes, that was a very sort of positive business sort of model. I mean, most of the things I would say is that you got your sort of people in place, your organisation. You got the sort of social return identified clearly. Business looks like it's quite profitable. You've already been running it. Looks successful. The only particular issue seems to be the sort of financial bit, and that seems to be going forward really. My query is, if you've got sort of 75% occupancy rate already, sort of how much can you expect more to achieve when you're already sort of achieving that level of sort of take up?
Thanks, Giles. Occupancy is key, and really at 75% we are just about squeezing it, if you excuse the term. Our our strategy and our business model is very much about achieving an 80% plus margin, and the way that we're looking at doing that is firstly by having a more prominent site in the area which is adjacent to other key facilities. It's also on a main arterial route into Liverpool city centre, bus stop outside, big frontage, you know, the whole shebang really. And our partnership with Merseyside Society for Deaf People is all about negative integration and actually pitching our services so that we are able to offer a bilingual facility for families of hard of hearing and deaf children, which we're hoping is unique to the area and will also attract a new and varied market.
Hi Dana, it's Carol here. I just really liked your presentation and thought the film was great too. You probably mentioned this, but I just wondered if you actually do any kind of accredited training at your centre, because it sounds to me like it would be a great opportunity, and to maybe link up with some sort of college in the area and may also be another funding source.
Thanks, Carol. Actually, we've just been receiving our Common Core training, which is an element of training which is going to be required by 2015 for everybody who comes into contact with children. That includes the police service, the fire service, etc., etc. We're currently talking to Sefton CBS about using our skills and our staff to actually start delivering that training in the area. Key staff have recently got training in sort of direct trainers awards and whatever, and we're hoping that will be something that we're going to be able to roll out pretty soon. Obviously, in terms of generating income, if we're going to be looking at having a further £1.5 million investment, then we've got to assume that a substantial element of that money is going to be loan finance. Therefore, we've got to up our bottom line with new initiatives to ensure that we've got that surplus of generated income to be able to pay off any extra debt that we might incur through the relocation. Thank you.
Hi again, I don't know if you can hear me, it's Akila. I just wanted to ask, right at the beginning or even now, what kind of payment scales did you use for parents? If you used a sliding scale for those parents who perhaps were out of work but needed to go to training and needed childcare, or is there a set fee that you've always charged? Thank you.
Hi, Keela. What we found was that very early on we did do a very sort of crude means testing of our parents, and it didn't sit well with what we were doing, to be honest with you, because the decisions that we made were very arbitrary. The introduction of the Working Families Tax Credit kind of took the onus away from us, in that external means testing was done to determine the level of fees that the parents should pay. Saying that, we have a number of beneficiaries currently who are supported through social services, through Children in Need programmes, through Fusion, which is a programme to get disabled children into mainstream play activities, and our contracts with Care to Learn, the Future Jobs Fund, the Jobs Centre, enables us to attract funding against that particular family. We consider that money to be earned income as opposed to grant income, I must say, and therefore that contributes to our overall percentage. What we do find though is that where parents are transferring between a particular source of funding, for example, a parent may have received funding through social services because their child had a disability, and then because of the support that they've received through Lister Steps and through other programmes that are working around the child, there may be a short transition where other funding needs to kick in, and in those situations we do use our discretion and obviously our charitable status to ensure that we're able to provide the consistency for the child. But I'm happy to send you details of our fee scales and more details as to how that actually works if you need more information.
Hi there, Mike Bulpitt here. Just a question around the level of debt that you're going to take on. I mean, you've already said that you had too much debt in the past, and now you're talking about taking on 1.5 million. Is that going to be a mixture of loan or grant, or is it going to be mainly loan? And I guess to what extent, how much did you all talk about the possibilities of taking out maybe cheaper or shorter term options in terms of a change in accommodation?
Fantastic question, Michael. I was waiting for that one. When we were looking at our options, really, we did an options analysis in the area which involved our local ward councillors and the planning department to actually identify what else was available to us. And we found that there was no land, no premises that were of a good size or of suitable size for us. In terms of taking on the loan finance, I think what we've done this year is that we've took the pessimistic view, whereas in the past we've sort of gone into these kind of arrangements with rose-tinted glasses and thought we'll do it, it'll all work out. We've actually looked at the what if it doesn't work scenario, as part of which I can't really go into too much detail at the moment, but we are sort of looking at alternative plans because really the porta cabins don't have that much life in them. One option would be to build on the land adjacent to us on Lister Drive, which we would still incur building costs. The land next door, though, is just being given over to a timber merchant, so we're facing a wood mill as well as the electricity pylons and the dumps of rubbish. It's something I think that our board are looking at really, really long and hard, and I think one of the big advantages of the social investment package is that we've got a 20-day consultancy as part of the business development grant to actually help us look at those areas in advance. In particular, Carol mentioned before taking on training contracts. We're also looking at babysitting and nannying services, which we would look at very much more on a commercial basis, and heightening our profiles so that those 75% occupancies can be pushed to 85% as a target, which would then generate the surplus that we would need to pay back our loan. We still have a 220,000 asset on the balance sheet, which is the porta cabins, which hopefully we're hoping that we can utilise some of the value in that to offset the new debt that we will incur when we relocate. I hope that answers your question.
Maybe I could jump in here. Thanks, Gaynor. I think one of the things about childcare, particularly as a business, is that the fixed costs are very high. In most service industries, staff costs will be very high. So if you look at most third sector business models, something like 75–80% of costs will be associated with people in one way or another. In the case of childcare, this is all regulated. The numbers of adults with different levels of qualification are laid down by Ofsted. So you have to sustain those high fixed costs. What it means is, if you set your break-even at 80%, the marginal value of the extra kids, if you like, to you is very big, because the marginal cost of kids over and above 80% Gaynor will hate me for this, but essentially it's a few p a day in order to feed them and maybe some extra nappies or that kind of thing. But the marginal cost of the extra children is relatively low. The marginal income is very important. I just want to make a few general comments before, or even perhaps while Vicky is moving us into breakout rooms. We will have a chance to talk in more detail, clearly in the smaller groups, and I would encourage you all to participate as fully as possible. Just to remind you, the basic framework for assessing all of these business models is looking at strategic planning, investment readiness, and how the idea is pitched or sold. So I would just remind you of those sort of general headings for the whole course. I think in the case of the childcare business, what we're looking at here is something that was started by local people who have the best local information. And Gaynor has stressed their partnership working and their endless communication, but that is based on really knowing the patch that they're talking about. This is often the competitive advantage of small local businesses, that they really do know their market and their place better than anybody else. Other themes that I think are interesting in this business model are to do with the financial side. There have been questions about the level of debt. Lister Steps at the moment is sustaining payments on debt that are roughly 25% of turnover. There are different levels of debt that are acceptable with different business models. But in a marginal business like this, childcare in a deprived area, high levels of debt are never going to be completely achievable. The other very interesting thing I think about this particular business model was the fact that New Economics Foundation were able to do a really major piece of social return on investment work to establish this key figure of £48 return for every pound invested. I mean, that is an absolutely mind-boggling statistic, and shows the extent to which sometimes just looking at the financial markets really distorts our allocation of investment. The other thing I think I would talk about, and it's partly because it's Liverpool, but partly also because childcare has been an area where central government intervention has been extremely important, and the major investment by New Labour, first in Sure Start centres and then in children's centres, has really distorted the marketplace for local providers. And I see Joanna, who is without a microphone, Gaynor, which is why she's written her question. But again, the difficulty of dealing with an environment where policy change can affect your business model, and how do you survive, and what strategies do you adopt in order to make sure that you survive within a changing policy context. It looks to me as if we're, with a new coalition government and a change of power in Liverpool, about to have a new political context for the provision of childcare. And finally, another theme I think I'd commend to you is Gaynor's really heroic work in terms of both doing the day job, managing an operation, delivering quality
Welcome everyone back from the breakout rooms. I know it can seem rather abrupt when you're sort of whisked away to the breakout rooms and then suddenly whisked back in again. So I hope that you have all had time to have a chance to speak and to ask questions, and we're going to feed back now to the group. So can I ask the facilitators of the groups to if you could put yourself back in your breakout room and bring your notes back with you, and then we'll just feed back to the rest of the group. Hugh, while we're waiting, perhaps you could sum up a few thoughts from your room.
Okay. I still think we're not quite used to the breakout room. It's the first time we've used it, but we did manage to have a bit of substantive comment. I think in general people were very impressed by the overall presentation by Gaynor, but we have a couple of particular questions. One relates to the lack of overall numbers, and I'm going to hand over to Giles to ask that one. And there was some concern expressed, I think, by John about with a marginal business like this, how do you really climb the capital mountain to achieve a £1.5 million capital development? So maybe let Giles ask the question.
Yeah, thank you, Hugh. Yes, the main question was, as you were saying, the numbers behind it all, because all the other elements look pretty strong. And the main thing I just wanted to pick out was, if you're asking for a £2 million loan, how much is that going to be costing? And secondly, if in your turnover, what's your level of turnover? How much of that is going to be fixed costs, and what's your expected sort of profit you're expected to be generating from this, so you know how much leeway you've got depending on the different changes in the market?
Hi, thanks Giles. Just taking it from the top really, I do take on board your comment about the lack of overall numbers, which is something I've got to say is changing by the day at the moment. As I mentioned earlier, we've just got a new treasurer and we're in the process of doing our financial forecasts at the moment, which will go to SIB very, very soon. I take on what you're saying about offering a marginal business and how we are going to achieve the capital mountain, and it's a very good way of determining it. Our current turnover is approximately 440,000 at the moment, of which about 80% is on fixed costs. As you mentioned earlier, the childcare is so very dependent on people costs, and you're sort of looking about 85–90% of our total expenditure is on people. So unfortunately, our other areas we do keep very, very tight. In terms of capital, we are looking for 1.5 million. Our discussions with Social Investment Business are kind of looking at a 700,000 investment from them, which we would hope would be on a 60/40 grant loan ratio. We're hoping that the asset that we've got left in our building will be enough to repay our current debt of 100,000 to a venture capital fund, therefore clearing that slate, if you like. Obviously, we're very, very aware that we've still got over half of the capital to raise. Different things that we're looking at is investment from the Carbon Trust, offsetting our lower overheads by investment from them. As a charity, we're looking at large charitable trust funds, for example the Henry Smith, the Eleanor Rathbone, being based in Liverpool, we do benefit from trusts such as the John Moores Foundation, which are very, very supportive of organisations such as Lister Steps. But we do take on board that we have got a huge challenge ahead, and obviously any advice or pointers to various funders that people are able to provide would be very, very gratefully appreciated.
Just a comment from me about large-scale capital fundraising. I'm going to mix my metaphors here a bit, but it is a question usually of assembling a cocktail of financing, and getting the first brick in the wall is really quite difficult. But once you are able to say, we have a firm pledge for half the money, we're looking for the rest of it, there is sometimes a snowball effect. People like to invest in investment-ready propositions, and those social investors are looking for things that have a chance of working. So the first brick in the wall is often the most difficult. And clearly, if you like, Lister Steps aren't doing this for the first time, so they have a track record to point to of excellent service delivery and huge local knowledge. But nonetheless, I don't think Gaynor or I underestimate the difficulties of capital fundraising for this amount of money. We've always said that absolutely, even with 85%, 90% occupancy, this is a low gross margin business that is not going to tolerate a huge amount of loan finance. Should we have some comments from the other room?
Thanks, Hugh. We spoke about the occupancy rates and how hard or difficult it was to achieve that, and what the competition was from other children's centres or other services. And we spoke quite a lot about how Gaynor communicates with parents, how she gets feedback from them, and how she involves them. And she said that she has 3 parents who are trustees. They have a regular newsletter and carry out a social audit, and try to ask regularly parents to help out in the business, both sort of on a casual basis, but also looking for particular skills that will be useful. Gaynor mentioned about the Parents' Council, which might be quite interesting to overview. Gaynor, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about that, trying to get parents involved in that, although you said there were some problems with getting those who have children in at nursery level. It's difficult to get those people involved.
Yeah, that's right, Vicky. What we wanted to do was that one of the big elements of the early years foundation stage is the partnership that providers are able to create with parents to support the children's transitions and as they develop their milestones, so that there's that free flow of information going through. We tried to set up a parents' council, and we invited parents to come along and, you know, have an input into what we were doing, and sort of tell us the good bits and tell us the bad bits. And what we found was that there was no take-up, and we sort of chatted around and asked people, and the main assumption was that parents were happy with what we were doing and didn't really want to get involved. Their relationship with Lister Steps was as a customer. They dropped their child off in the morning, it enabled them to go to work or go to school, and as long as that service was being provided and there were no real problems, then they were just really happy to get involved with it. One thing that it's just come to mind is that we actually have recently done a survey on nutrition and sent out specific questionnaires asking the parents what they felt about the menus that we offer the children. We strive to give a vegetarian healthy diet and really try and follow sort of like the healthy agenda that exists. And for the first time we found that about 4 or 5 parents are very, very keen to get involved in a nutrition group, which suggests that, you know, sort of the recent information and media has kind of prompted parents to be more upfront about the health of their child.
Just a comment from me, sorry John to nip in. This whole concept of involving the customers in the design and delivery of service is very big with the new government and their interest in mutuals and the co-op. As part of doing more for less, if you like, one of the things that they think may work is this whole model of co-delivery and, as I say, involvement of the customers in the design and some aspects of the delivery. I think about, there's an example, for instance, of a group who are trying to get a People's Supermarket going to provide good quality, low-cost food that is based on a volunteer model, so you're not only a customer, but you volunteer to work the till for 4 hours a month or something like that. Now, clearly childcare is something in which the parents, you know, ideally have to be involved in, so lends itself to this co-delivery model. And I think that social enterprise that normally has a very porous business model, I mean by that they're very good at incorporating volunteers in their operation, is something that we will see growing in the future. People want to feel engaged and know that the only way that they can really get quality service is if they are engaged in the design and delivery of that service. So I think that there is, if you like, it may be up there in the sort of theoretical stratosphere, but I think that there is a real opportunity for social enterprise in pioneering co-delivery models. We're seeing it increasingly, and the NHS is looking at this. And it fits very much with, if you like, the conservative philosophy of as well as rights, there are responsibilities. John, over to you.
Hi Gaynor, I hope you can hear me okay. Thanks for the presentation and everything. There was just one suggestion I wanted to make on funding, which was successful for me when I worked for an autistic society on the South Coast, and that was the local Freemasons. You can track them down through the internet, and they do collect an awful lot of money, and it might just be worth a try.
Just a comment from me on that. I don't know if anyone else was listening to the Today program this morning, but they had a feature on Scope, who were promoting what they called leveraged financial investment, and they talked about people making a £1,700 donation, linking that to the tax benefits from that, and then asking them to do interest-free loans in order to build housing for their particular client group. So there are some interesting, I think, new social investment opportunities coming out of the marketplace. I was just intrigued to see social enterprise given such a high profile, particularly financing of social enterprise on the Today program.
Thanks for that, Hugh. I was going to suggest a break now, though that was very interesting, and I don't know if anyone wants to come back or has any questions or points or issues to raise about that last comment. I think perhaps it is time for a break. Gaynor, thank you once again. Thank you very much for joining us. It's a fantastic model, and you know, it's always really fantastic to have you here to explain it to us. You're very welcome to join us for the rest of the session. We'd love to have you, but if you need to go, then we understand that too. Can I suggest to everyone that we have a 15-minute break now, time for a cup of tea or a comfort break, and can everyone be back here at 11:45, and Davida is going to present to us after the break, and we'll have the chance once again to ask questions about her balanced scorecard, about her presentation, but we won't break out into breakout rooms, we'll stay in the main room for this one. So see everyone back in 15 minutes. Gaynor, hi. We've just moved to a break, actually. So what I was saying was thank you so much, and everyone was really pleased to have you join us. You're very welcome to join us for the rest of the session, of course. But if you need to go now, then we'd understand that too. Welcome back, everyone. If you're here, could you please give me a tick to let me know that you're back? I think we'll just wait another minute or so to try and make sure everyone's back from the break, and then we'll get started with Davida's presentation on Enfield Dream. John, over to you. I think you may have a question.
No, no question. I just put my hand up to let you know I was back.
You know, I think we're more or less all here, so I think we'll get started. Davida has sent us a presentation, and we have her balanced scorecard, and she's going to talk about the Enfield Dream Centre. Davida, I've not put your presentation up on the whiteboard because it's quite long, and I think it's tempting to just kind of talk through it. So I'm going to let you talk through. As you recall from our residential, what we want you to do is to pitch this, as we practice at the residential, to the rest of the group as though we were an investment panel who were able to invest in your organisation. So I'm going to suggest that we have up to 10 minutes, although if you can keep it down to about 5, that's probably better. I'm going to put a timer down so that you can see how long you have left. I'm going to suggest that you talk through the centre. I have your balanced scorecard here, so I can move from quadrant to quadrant as you require, but don't talk exactly to the balanced scorecard. Why not just present your idea as though we had some money and we were able to invest? Hugh, I'm not sure, or yeah, if there's anything you wanted to add before we start?
No, thanks. Good luck, Davida. Go for it.
Davida, I could see that you picked up the microphone, but we couldn't hear anything that you said. Do you want to pick it up again? Once I've put it down, you'll see that it goes yellow. It's highlighted yellow once you pick it up, and then you can start pitching your organisation to us.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Is it after? Good morning. Yes. I'll just give a brief overview of the organization and the business ideas. Then I'd go into talking about the balanced scorecard. The organization is Enfield Dream Centre. We're a social enterprise. We began operations in January 2009, but in February 2010 we were actually registered as a community interest company. We work in the London Borough of Ealing. We have 4 directors and 12 volunteers at the moment. We are a human potential development company, and our work is in response to the current epidemic of social problems, social economic problems, in London and in North London, to be specific. And as a group, we've decided to intervene and be proactively involved by being a major part of the solution. In order to do that, we are providing, or we aim to provide, life enrichment products and services to the area, to the people living in the area. We have, I guess we could go to the balance scorecard and I can just talk through that. So if we start with the organizational development side. Yes. Okay, at the moment we've developed some key policies, and like I said, we have 12 volunteers, a director, financial administrator, and some volunteers that do actual work with clients. We have developed about 35 partners within the community. These are voluntary and community and statutory organizations. We've joined 2 umbrella bodies as well. What I'd like to say first of all is that up till now, most of the organization's work has focused mainly on the social aim, which hasn't been a strength. And we have seen that if we carry on our business this way, we won't be able to sustain ourselves. So we've had to rethink how we are to operate. So I would like to quickly talk through the business model for the now. Yes. So far, we have been building ourselves up within the organization. We've been building the team up. We've done a lot of training. The management staff have been on several training courses. And we've also started our product development. We've delivered some courses to our practitioners who will be working with the people in the community, and we've actually we've started working on developing programs that we would actually be delivering to the community itself. I'm not sure if I'm doing this properly, sorry about this. Yes, if we go to the social return for this period. So far we've actually worked with 3 clients. We've given them one-to-one support in life coaching. We've trained 4 key volunteers who are practitioners and who will be working with the other volunteers that as we recruit them to join the organization. 2 directors are being developed professionally, and 1 partner is being enabled to achieve their local target agreements. If we go to the now of the financial return, there's been investment in cash from the directors, and also investment in kind from the directors, from the volunteers, and from the MPhil libraries that have allowed us to use the premises for the delivery of the service. Okay, so like I said earlier, the way we've modeled our business, our business at this point will not take us to the next step. So we've had to rethink how we would get to the next step and also earn a lot of income. We've decided to observe what organizations in the private sector in this particular field in personal development. We've decided to look at how they've modeled their business, and we found out that their model would actually generate more returns. So if we go to the organization development segment of the scorecard. So our next stage is to complete the development of all our internal systems and policies, recruit high-level staff that could manage their particular area of work. A core part of our business is the marketing and sales aspect, because we believe that if we focus, if we invest a lot in this area of our work, we'll be able to bring in the necessary income. So we'll be looking at a sales and marketing manager using interns and using sales affiliates to leverage our sales. We also would be using 2 full-time trainers and also a pool of freelance workers to deliver the training. So if we go to the business model side of the business model side, yeah, okay. So I'm now looking at the soon section of the business model. So very soon we will be what we're hoping to do is, instead of spending our time in the development of services, we would buy a license to deliver and sell products from a particular organization, and then deliver those services. We are hoping to deliver 36 personal development courses, 12 practitioner courses, 42 clubs or membership group meetings, big events, 6 big events, and 30 coaching, one-to-one coaching sessions to clients, plus the sales of products, which might be tapes, books that we would have licenses to resell. If we go, so could we go to the financial aspect? We're hoping that with the delivery of this of these services, we'll be able to bring in to the organization about £300,000 each year. If we go to the social returns, please. In delivering these services, we'll be able to, we would have empowered about 1,000 clients in fulfilling their goals. About 871 staff, which include volunteers, freelance speakers, and affiliate salespeople will be empowered to achieve their goals, and 200 partners within the organization, within the community, would have been able to further achieve their local agreement targets. What we're looking for is a grant of 400,000 per year over a 3-year period to help us build capacity into the organization and then deliver these services to the community. Thank you.
That was almost perfectly 10 minutes, so well done, Davida. Can I pass over to Hugh for a few comments, and then I'll open up the room and we'll have a chance to ask a few questions to you.
Thanks, Vicky, and thanks, Davida. That was great. I'd like to encourage people to put their hands up for comments. I think at this stage, I'll say more perhaps later. I mean, I think there's commendable ambition here, Davida, but I think some of the underpinning of that ambition needs to be what I would just call smarter, more specific and more measurable. The other general comment that I would make at the head of this is I don't really know Ealing. I don't know what the social problems there are, what specific client groups that you're targeting. And I think that, just as I said around the steps, you know, one of Gaynor's and her team's great strength is they really know their patch very well, and have designed a very specific provision against the issues in that patch. So I would like to hear a bit more about your particular niche within this market. We saw, for instance, last week a presentation, the Possibility Place presentation from Acumen, that was very much rooted up there in the northeast in their community. I didn't get a flavour, as I say, of Ealing from that. But take some comments from some others. Please do put your hands up. I'd hand over to Chris to start with.
Hi, Davida. Great presentation, great ambition you've got here. I don't fully understand. Well, I don't understand at all this world, to be honest. Could you talk, Davida, a bit more about who's actually going to buy these different products that you're producing, and what confidence you've got that the market is there to purchase the different courses and things?
Yes, the market we're looking at is we're looking at individuals who are earning income. I'm not sure that if that's okay. Do you? Okay, sorry. Do you? I'm not sure what I'm doing.
Just taking the microphone away. The way to note if you've got the microphone on, Davida, is to see if it goes yellow. So you'll see that when you press the button, it highlights yellow, so you'll know that you've got control of the mic. So just to pass it back to you now.
Okay, the people we're targeting at are people who are in employment, who are wanting. I mean, the main, because what it is that initially I was looking at targeting it at people in the community, but obviously that there wasn't enough capacity there for earning income. So now we're targeting it at individuals in the community who are income earners and who want to take either the profession or their life to the next level. So that will be the main category of people we'll be targeting. Does that answer your question?
If I could just jump in for a quick supplementary, Davida. I can see that you're targeting them. What confidence have you got? What sort of market research backing have you got that you're succeeding in getting that income?
Because what it is to get that income isn't so. It's because what we're going to be doing will be funneling our market. So we'll start with offering different products with different packages. For instance, we'd offer products like books, DVDs, CDs to get people interested in a particular in the next level of our products. Then we'll be offering people like memberships, so they might join a club. And for a we'll be providing them high value, but it will be low cost. The product will be high value, but the cost will be low. Then we'll take it to the next level and present people with the opportunity to buy into one-day events. Then we would also take it to the next level. Then people could buy into like a course which runs for like 12 weeks. And then we take it to the next level, which might be one-to-one coaching. But this is a model that's used by this particular market, and most organizations that are in this particular market, this is the model they use.
Hi, Davida. Well done for doing your presentation. Hugh, you jumped in and actually stole my question, which was, Davida, to ask you what market research you did to establish the need for your service, because I think if you've got that market research, then that gives you the starting point to clarify exactly what the project will be delivering. So I know you just answered Hugh's question, but I wonder if you could just say, you know, before you started to set up exactly what you were going to be doing, how you established this need, and how this is going to sort of like solve the problems that you mentioned in your presentation.
Okay. To start off with, we have engaged with the community. We've spoken to, by attending various meetings through the CDS, through different umbrella bodies like the Community Empowerment Network and different organizations involved there. We have actually met with several organizations, attended several meetings, and we have identified, we've spoken to people about what we were trying to offer as a service to the community, and quite a number of organizations actually have shown a great interest in what we're planning to do. Unfortunately, this particular market, because this is a community and voluntary sector market, most people in this market do not have organizations in the market do not have the income to put towards our particular services. What we've also done to research the market is we've run a few taster sessions, and we've also we've gone to different organizations presenting the idea and gaining waiting lists of people who might be interested in in using our services. Does that answer the question? I'm not sure that's enough now.
Hi, Davida.
Sorry, Herbert, we lost you then. Do you want to pick the microphone up again and try once more?
Okay. Having, I guess, a personal interest in this particular space, my first question to you, Davida, would be, why are you going for a CIC instead of probably setting it up as a private business, and as a spin-off of that, making maybe then set up your CIC? Because one thing that I do know about this particular marketplace is that, number one, they are, in terms of earnings, you can get a very high earnings, but then that's dependent on the quality or the profile of your trainers and coaches, and also because it's a very much in thing, life coaching and things like that, that you probably need to find maybe one a high net worth client. I don't know who comes from infield that you could possibly bring on board, and they can sing your praises, or they can go through your one-to-one sessions and then begin to build from that. Because I think in a way, one of the things that, to be blunt, I'm sorry, is I think right now you're I think you're kind of a wolf masquerading in sheep's clothing, and I would say this is more suited to being a business, and then the back end of that could then be your CIC. Thanks.
Like I said, I've actually thought of that, because initially, like I said, I was thinking about the social aim. But then when I realized that we need to make a lot more money, the business model I've brought on, like I said, is a business model being used in the private sector, which works. But like you said, it probably might need maybe a branding to be able to and the products have to be of high quality to be able to bring in the income that is required. So I do agree with everything that you said there. Yeah, so we might, yeah, okay, yeah, we might have to look for another way to meet our social aims, but at the same time, still operate in the same, still sell the same product, which is personal development.
Paul, you're next in the queue, and then Maggie, I think you had a question.
Hello there. Hi, Davida. That was a bold presentation. My question is regarding the financial quadrant of your balance scorecard. You did indicate there that there is 78K in kind by directors. Could you clarify that aspect of, in terms of in kind, whether they're getting return on their investment? Thank you.
Well, that's just, they're not going to get a return on the investment, but that's the actual time that directors have put into the organization.
There's a question from Maggie in the chat box, and she's asking, what is the cost per head that will enable you to achieve your projected return? Perhaps you could answer that one, Davida.
I'm not sure exactly what Maggie is asking about, because what we will be selling products of different values to different customers. So I'm not sure what they'll be different products, like there'll be events. For instance, a big event for 300 people at either maybe £50, it could be from £50 to £100 to attend the event. And while people are at that event, we might sell also products. We might sell a video of the event, which might be about £90. So it would vary depending on the activity that people might be joining. What we've done is we've graded the different activities so that people could access it irrespective of what their income level or whatever the disposable income is. For instance, we would also have things like a membership group where people can, for £20 a month, can attend once a month. For once a month for £20 a month. There would also be something like a Success Academy, which would be like 1,200, but that would be for like a 12-week period. I hope that answers your question, Maggie.
Hello, yes, one question I've got for you, Davida, if I may, and you may have answered it, and I apologise if that's the case, but we're talking about sort of £50 to attend an event and £20 a month for other sort of signing on to a membership. What research have you identified to show that actually those costs, there is a demand to be paying that type of money? Thank you.
A lot of I've been to several events, and this is and I pay that's what I pay to attend those events, and those events are also packed full, and even others charge a lot more for the event, about £300 for even entrance, maybe for one day.
Hi, Davida. I'm very interested in finding out how you went about developing your products and services, because as you mentioned, I think sort of quality is sort of quite an important thing to in this area. Whether, for example, with Acumen, you've used sort of existing programs like they did with getting programs from America, or you've developed your own ones through your own expertise or other experts that you know.
Because what I've been doing over a period of time has been I've been attending several personal development courses, and my background is also in education. I've come from I used to work in colleges and as part-time as a lecturer at a university. So what I'm trying to use all these organizations as a benchmark for the product. Now, I think the difference between what I'm trying to do with what and what Acumen has done is Acumen has taken a model that has worked in America and has taken it into the community and voluntary sector. I believe this is, I'm not sure if this is the case, but it seems as if they've taken it into the voluntary and community sector within the UK. But then what I'm doing is I'm taking a model that's worked in America and a model that is working in the private sector in the UK, and I'm marketing it to the private sector in the UK, not necessarily to the community sector. But I'm giving the community and people in the community access to such training and services.
Davida, thanks very much. We're moving towards the end and I want to wrap up, but I do have one question for you first. Could you say a little bit more about this ICANN license and if you like, the basis for that? That seems to me central to your business model, and we haven't heard very much about that.
Okay, what's happened so far was that I was spending a lot of time trying to develop of my own time, developing the community, the Enfield Dream Center. However, I realized that if I put my time into my own personal organization and develop the product there, then I had a product which I could sell to the Enfield Dream Center and also other organizations that might want to buy that particular product. Because what I'm doing is selling my expertise and all my personal investments, and I'm packaging that, and then I'm able to offer it to different organizations. Now, the Enfield Dream Center might turn around and say they do not want to use that product, but they might be able to find other products within the market that they might be able to use and deliver.
Thanks, Davida. That's great. Gently, I'll make a few comments if I may. Firstly, I applaud your ambition with this service, but I think that there's a bit more investment readiness to do, preparation to do, before you can really launch this. And particularly if you are proposing to launch this off the basis of £100,000 a year revenue grant for 3 years. I guess that is the toughest kind of money to raise of all the money that is available. A, it's quite a large amount. B, it's for revenue for a startup company. And C, you're asking for it for 3 years. I think that you need to develop your whole proposal quite substantially before you would have a chance of achieving that. I still don't get a clear picture of exactly what personal development services that you're getting. Success in this marketplace, I think, is based on quite high levels of individual skill. And you started to talk at the very end in response to questions. You mentioned that you have a background in teaching. I didn't get a sense from you about the skills that you and your fellow directors bring to this project. And if you remember my advice about investment readiness, it was about credibility and capacity. And so I think that you need to establish your credibility and that of your fellow directors to lead a project like this. So I would like to hear a lot more about you and what you've done and what skills that you bring to this. I would also then like to hear more about the particular branded product that you're intending to use. We need to understand more about the costs of that and the possibilities of that. You said that you had done some benchmarking. I'm not sure whether the benchmarking that you've been doing is really in the private sector. And you know, Herbert has a totally valid comment, I think, in the chat box. You know, life coaching is big business, and if you get it right, it can be a high value-added product. I suppose more than anything, I'd like to hear a bit more about where physically you're coming from and what your client group entails, because I think particularly as a social enterprise, there is a market for life coaching. We've seen the example of Acumen and Possibility Place, which essentially is a life coaching product, but that is tailored very much to local need and local community. And I think, you know, there may be all kinds of possibilities, but again, you need to root that in your local knowledge and in your community. A couple of other comments for me in terms of this, things that for me beg questions, if you like. One is back to why you established yourself as a community interest company, and I think you need to be clear always there are two kinds of KICs. One is a company limited by guarantee, and the other is a company limited by shares. I think that they have specific purposes, the two of them, and I have to say I'm not a huge fan of KICs myself. So I think you need to establish a very clear line about why you established a KIC. And the other comment is about the investment from directors. Certainly as an investor, when I see that included, I strike it out. It is very substantial, but I think that anybody, whether you're starting a social enterprise or a private enterprise indeed, that kind of sweat equity, if you like, you know, time and effort put into figuring out the idea, almost is expected. People will expect you to do that work, and to try and make great claims around that being an investment is really saying that only gets you to you know, the start, if you like, of investment readiness, and that is expected of you. And certainly in any kind of investment decision, as I say, I discount any money associated with time spent on this. I think those are all my only general comments at this moment, and perhaps offline we can get together and work on this in more detail one-to-one. Is that okay for now?
Thank you ever so much. I do receive those comments, and like I said, it's still going through a thought process. The whole project is going through a thought process. But just maybe to make a quick comment is that there was a part of it probably that I didn't highlight. Part of it that was that we were training practitioners as life coaches to work in the community, and as they were being trained, part of their training was also to work one-to-one or even in groups with the people in the community. So that was the aspect that was actually benefiting the community, the local community and the disadvantaged people directly. Thank you. But also to say that with the investment that the directors had put into the organization, that is not to be returned, but it was just a figure that I wanted to be noted.
Okay, thanks for that. My comment about investors time spent still stands. I'm sure that there is a business model in here somewhere, and I quite understand that this is something still under development. I hear your ambitions to target the higher end of personal development and coaching, but I wonder again, thinking about the community from which you spring, whether there isn't some lower rungs, if you like, of the personal development ladder that a social enterprise couldn't deliver more effectively. And again, I would stress that all of this is based on your and your fellow directors' credibility. So we need to hear a lot more about your skills and experience to deliver this program. Those are my initial comments. I think we're nearly coming to an end. Should we do the normal thing of hands up and just some comments and reflections around the room before we close off? So hands up, please, and we'll just go quickly around the room. I don't know if Yao has anything to say about administration matters or preparation for next time. Off we go. Hands up, please, everybody.
Just while we're doing that, yes, just to underline that our next session is on the 7th of June. We'll be joined by Roger Pipe from Millfields Trust, who's going to talk about managed workspace. So again, can I ask that everyone signs in at 9:30 or as close to 9:30 as they can, so that we can check your audio levels, and then we'll start the session proper at 10. Same format, we'll watch the film, we'll have a chance to ask Roger some questions, and then we'll move to breakout rooms for some more detailed discussion, and then we'll have a break with a participant pitch in the second half of the session. As before, do familiarise yourself with the materials before the session. There's the balance scorecard, the film, and a tips document, as well as sometimes some financial information. So do go to the Community Sector Trading website, which is communityst.co.uk. Go to the resources section and look up Millfields. So I think now, round the room once, just to say how we feel it's gone, some quick feedback. Over to you, Herbert, as number one. Everyone remember to put their hands down again, press the blue button again when you've finished, to move yourself from the top of the list.
It was a great session. Two things that I'm taking away from this. Number one, the issue of a detailed knowledge of your localized, of your market. I think somebody termed it a localized knowledge. I think that came across very clearly in this session. And number two, on the issue of credibility, you know, we talk about capacity, credibility, and confidence. And I think credibility of the principals, the people who are backing the idea, the people who are running with the idea. So that's my takeaway from that.
Hi. Yeah, I found it a really interesting session. I found it much easier to concentrate this time than last time. I think maybe just being a bit more used to it. Certainly all the stuff that's coming up is helping me to look in more detail at one of our projects that's sort of struggling a bit. So all the information is really helping with that. One thing I just put in the message room, I guess most people do know, but I'd be quite keen to know the differences between a KIC and a social enterprise in terms of the advantages and disadvantages in which route to go if you're setting up. So thanks, and bye to everybody, and see you on the 7th.
Next person in the queue, let's just pick up afterwards. So Joanna has typed into the chat box, and then it's Aquila.
Hi, I just wanted to say that the whole program seems to be really short now that I've managed to get used to it, and I wonder by the last session if there's any key pointers or advice that the moderators could provide to us as a group in terms of what the positive opportunities there are as a result of the change in the government. Yeah, what they're presenting to us. Thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to thank everybody for listening to my presentation this morning, and also thanks very much for a lot of the helpful tips that you've given us. I think just as a bit of feedback to Davida is don't give up. It's a fantastic idea, and you know, we're 12 years on in the development of Lister Steps, and we've learned every single day of that. So good luck for the future, and thanks once again to the group. Bye.
Good to see two very different case studies, so a variety of lessons learnt, and great for Davida as well, sort of having the courage to do her pitch. Also looking for someone actually to do a pitch on the final session on Tuesday the 15th of June. I initially had Sue, but unfortunately she's not available for that day. But as you can see, you do get a lot out of doing this, as you can see sort of from Davida today. So if anyone is interested, do get in touch with me. Okay, bye all.
Hi, it's John here. Thanks to everybody who took part, got a lot from today, and look forward to catching up with you all again soon. Bye.
Really enjoyed today's session. It was good to be able to participate fully at last. I found it particularly useful to contrast an established social enterprise with one that's still in the formative stage, and look forward to the next. Thank you.
Hello, yes, I'd say I've got a lot out of this as well. Key things for me is actually trying to get hold of a bit more sort of numbers to go with all these bits and pieces, as I'm a bit of a numbers person. And actually, if there's, for example, I didn't see Davida's sort of scorecard beforehand, I wasn't able to print it off, so that would have been useful for the future. Thank you.
A rewarding session in lots of ways. I was very grateful for Gaynor and Davida for presenting themselves, and I feel painfully familiar with both kinds of scenario and wish them well.
Delighted to have finally sorted my IT problems and be here, and thanks to Davida and Gaynor. Particularly learnt a lot from Gaynor's marginal financial business, and it's no, that sounds bad, but you know what I mean. Tremendous points to learn towards a lot of things. Thanks very much.
This is Paul here. It's been a very interesting session, and I look forward to the next one. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks particularly to Gaynor and Davida. This is tough. You know, presenting business ideas clearly is really tough, which is part of the reason why we've designed so much practice around this. But well done to both of you. I note points made about the opportunities under the new government. Difficult, but maybe we'd have a go at that at the final residential. I know there's lots of questions about legal structures. Thank you, Sophie, for putting up the link. Again, maybe in the final session, I would be permitted a few personal comments about different legal structures and what I think they're good and bad for. We'll certainly pick up on that. And Giles, your point about numbers is noted. Fundamentally, investment decisions come down to numbers. If you remember at the top of the course, my presentation, knowing your numbers is really critical around credibility, and so that's something we need to continue to address. Thanks, you all.